Donttap presents The Couch vs. the Coach, a new podcast that bars your favorite capper against your favorite coach. The hardcore versus the fighter, the homework versus the real work. They go head-to-head making picks, and you benefit.
Every year on my birthday, he responds. So yeah, it's really
dude.
cool. Yeah,
he genuinely is a good guy. It's like the amount of shit he gives me on air. Like, I feel like people kind of get on his case, but it's like, no, he's genuinely one of the nicest people I've met in this industry. It is kind of weird.
I look up to him a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that is sort of the shtick, though, right? He's got to play that angle with you, and sort of that's part of the reason why people listen in regularly.
Yeah, you get to see a fighter be a bully again. It's nice.
Yeah.
So, Couch versus the Coach, and I am here with none other than the Mike Harrington, who I guess doesn't realize that he does have this celebrity status, and people get a little bit sort of awestruck when they see him. And he's like, dude, I'm just some guy in New York with my kid on the floor, my wife waiting to use the setup, and I'm on your podcast right now, and I'm, anyways, it's a pleasure to have you on once again, the Mike Harrington, and the man that is just crushing this podcast. So champion 2 weeks in a row. Now beating me isn't really saying much, but you beat TJ Laramie in the first week. You beat me 2-0 last week. So right now the Couch has 3 points. The Coach has 1 point as far as the carrying the points forward for everybody. This week though, we're going to bring in a little bit of a ringer. It's a little bit of a two-side to the scenario. We have what I was told was the best MMA cappers are guys who train with fighters in the gyms on a regular basis that love to bet MMA. Regional fighters that love to bet MMA. So I bring in none other than Dissection of Violence. Here we are. Jaden, how are you, brother?
Can't complain, brother. I'm just happy to be here again and be a nerd and talk some more fights.
Hell yeah.
Now, this is a little bit of a different setup from what we did on the early tap. The early tap, you bring your 3 best spots, and we just go at it and sort of hash out where you would like to see, bettors sort of put their money and everything else. On this show, it's a little bit different. When you bring a piece to the table, there's 3 pieces you bring to the table. We'll go round by round. Every time, every bet that you place, the first one, if it is, say, to get 1 point, your bet would only have to be at a -101 and chalkier. So you could go with Pratis, and that could be your pick, straight up money line at a chalk price. And if he hits, you get 1 point for him. Now, if you want to get into getting 2 points at -100 to +199, any of your plays. It could be a dog, it could be a prop, it could be whatever you suggest that's up to +199, that's worth 2 points. Above +199 is when you're getting to the bigger, juicier props and whatever else, and that's where you're going to get to 3 points. So +200 and up, you're going to get 3 points. So it becomes a strategy thing. You might not be a play, in that third round that you necessarily were going to think about going with. You might want to overstretch a little bit because you want to sort of match Harrington. But sometimes what I've noticed already, at least the past 2 weeks, is if you even go chalk and play it safe all 3 rounds, you might be able to just get 3 points, and that might be the safe enough for the win. So understood. Rules are there. Pretty straightforward. If you go chalk, you're going to get 1 point for a win. If you go mid-level, you're going to get 2. If you go a little bit crazy and degenerate, you're going to get 3. And we got to prove who's better, the Couch or the Coach. So first, I will let Harrington, I know that you've been the champ, but because we have somebody new on the podcast this week, we're going to let Dissection of Violence come off with his first spot, and then Harrington, you can come in with yours.
Okay, I'm going to go with I think what really speaks to me right now, just out of a system play, is I'm gonna have to go Ige KO. I think it's a pretty risky one. I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the first prop that speaks to me. But Ige KO is just like a system play. I just think it's a smart play to go. Obviously, it's a fight where it's all situational. I feel he could come in having a nice wrestling game, or he could come and make it a nice striking battle. But I just think with Philly's chin and the way how hard Ige hits, I just feel like it's a system play. You don't got to play heavy, but it's just a nice little play.
But it's a good 2-point play. I mean, Dan Ige hits extremely hard, and Feely hasn't been wrestling, and I don't think he's going to be like Mitchell and try to take him down aggressively. So if it stays on the feet at length, I can definitely see it. I was definitely looking at that too, and even the money line looks good to me. But so that would be a 2-pointer. Not a bad strategy. Come out with a little bit of a prop out of the gate to lead off, and that way you can tailor back to a money line later on in the rounds. If you need to. So, Harrington, you can sort of touch on that quickly, but then also, if you want to, you can just, for time reasons, just bring in your spot to the table.
Yeah, I was actually, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save my rebuttal for my second pick because I want to make sure I lock this one down. Main event, the last couple of weeks I've had, I've just taken a play in the main event just to, I think that gets eyeballs on it. I'm going to say Joe Pyfer by KO, right? I've seen Hermansson get knocked out before. Pyfer, he hits like a freight train. And this is a guy whose cardio hasn't been tested. So I don't know what he's going to look like in rounds 3, 4, 5. So I do think he's going to be looking for the KO early. And Hermansson, if he can't get the grappling going, if he can't get you down and kind of starts that away, take that away from you, I'm thinking of like the Jared Cannonier fight, for instance. If he has to stand and bang with these guys who have crazy power, he's going down. I've just seen it too many times. So to get Joe Pyfer in what I think is a very good spot with his best weapon, and it still be a 2-point spot, there's value for me. So I'm going to say Pyfer by KO at plus 100.
I like it. 2 KOs, 2-point spots, right out of the gate. 2 sharp guys. Let's go. I love it. I know how you feel about Pyfer right now. Earlier on in the week, dissection of violence, you had talked about, Pyfer. I think that was something we were all heavy on. He's pretty much he's a piece pretty much in almost everybody's parlay this week. Hopefully that does not come back to fuck us. But anyways, we'll pass that on to dissection of violence. Bring in your second spot to the table. So round 2, what are you going to come with? Big point piece or a safer chalk piece?
Safer chalk. If I'm doing safer chalk, it's Prates. Prates. This is a fight to where I find Contender Series is on the line. Like if this fails, Contender Series is not looking too great right now. And it's not like, oh, let's just take one more chance and see what happens. This is Prates, my favorite prospect from last year's season. This guy is a demon. I won't get into it again, but this man is a problem on the feet. He trains with guys who are much better grapplers at Fighting Nerds. I can't see Giles having a wrestling heavy game plan, sticking to that game plan longer than a round. I feel like his cardio won't be able to do 3 rounds of hard wrestling. And again, yes, he can be hit, and I do think Giles, he does still have power. He's still Cop Giles doing the salute. I still think that's a potential. But I just think Prates is too clean for this guy, man. There's one going this way and one's going down. So it's pretty safe, pretty clean. It's probably my play. That's probably my lock of the card. But yeah.
And you'd say Giles' only way is really if he makes it ugly, he mixes in that wrestling and tries to sort of prey on Prates' gas tank.
Yeah. I
What's that?
just don't think Neil Magny's style is built for that, whereas Giles is not built for that style. I don't think he can just change his whole style up overnight. So I see a KO. I see desperate takedowns. Give me Prates.
Okay. Round 2, Mr. Harrington, what do you got?
I mean, I just was looking back at last year's Contender Series, and it's like, Series City's on there. There's a number of guys who I really like from that, but I was just looking to see if that was Pyfer and Bo Nichols' season, but I guess that was the year before.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not very familiar with Prates' game. I just know how much I hate Trevin Giles. Ever since I saw him drop that, I think he was minus 225 against Gerald Mearshart, and I happened to be there, and I was like, why is this guy such a heavy favorite over GM3? Screw this guy. And GM3 took him down. I'm like, I can't take this guy seriously. All right, my second spot. I'm actually going to go. This is a pretty big swing because you're putting a pick on Ige to win by KO. I'm just going to take the plus money and take Andre Feely. I mean, this is a guy who, like, I like any of these guys who we watched grow up in the UFC. I think Fili was like 20, 21 when he got signed to the UFC. He's been with the company for damn near a decade now. Yeah, and I don't know, like any of these guys I feel are stepping into much bigger roles in the company, and having been there, being the young veteran that he is. I don't know, man. Ige is I've always questioned that 50K nickname. It's like, what are you really the guy who every single fight card we look at, it's like, Justin Gaethje or Dan Ige, one of those two guys is getting the bonus. It's like, I don't necessarily put those guys on the same level. And I just think Fili knows how to grind out very tough, just very tough split decisions. So for getting 2 points and then the added bonus of being able to take away a pick strategically, I'm just going to take Fili at plus money for 2 points.
And that is part of this game sometimes. So, because it's not necessarily that Harrington always would necessarily feel he would be the first person to jump off the ticket, but because there's a strategy to this, and you guys are going to go head to head, he sees that there's an angle and an avenue for Fili. I definitely like the strategy with Ige is you have to stifle that power. So he has to get in close on him, and even if he doesn't get him down, he's just gonna have to stick on him. He's gonna have to stick on him on the cage and implementing a little bit more offensive cage wrestling, and that's where even Ige has had an issue as well too. It's that defensive cage wrestling. He's been able to be held up against the cage even if he doesn't get taken down, and to be able to actually break off and land some big shots is what he needs to do. And I know that as a couch myself or somebody who sits at home as a fan, it's easy for me to yell at the screen as to what needs to be done. There's a lot that goes into defensive wrestling, but Ige just doesn't seem to have that at the highest level, and that's where it seems to be an issue. So it definitely could be an interesting one. I'm more on the Ige side of things with that one, but smart strategy there with the second round. Okay, so next pick, we're going to let Harrington take the lead on this one. It's the final round. He's the returning champ. Harrington gets to come in with what he wants to do for his final play. Take it away, sir.
All right, I'm going for a big swing. 3-pointer. 200 plus 200 or better is 3 points, right? So yep. I think I'm right on the number. Last I checked at plus 200. Brad Tavares. This is a guy who I feel like is completely slept on. Like a lot of his losses are to the absolute best out there. I mean, the DDPs and Alex Pereiras and Israel Adesanya's of the world, like that level of talent is who he's losing to. I've seen Gregory Rodriguez get starched by I think it was one of the Bonfim brothers or one of those sets of knockout artist brothers. And I don't know. I don't think, like, I understand that he's very credentialed in grappling, and I understand that he's then left that grappling to focus on just hands of stone and absolutely battering people. But Brad Tavares is a gamer. He's a veteran. He's somebody who keeps finding himself in these high leverage spots where he's like the guy you got to beat to get into the rankings, or the guy you got to beat to kind of move up towards contender status. And I just don't think Greg Rodriguez is there. From what I've seen of him, RoboCop has let me down in a couple of big spots. And I think Tavares is the kind of guy to turn him back and really set his career in a different trajectory.
I was going to say it's going to be easy for you, Dissection, to go on the other side of this one, because I know that this is one you feel strongly about, and I love it because we're on opposing ends.
So this one's interesting because I totally agree. RoboCop has an issue with his chin, and Tavares hits hard, so I do think there is that potential chance. But the thing that I'm really huge on with Rodriguez is I haven't seen him cower away to a 40-year-old man with one leg that was on death's door the 2 rounds previous. I can't. Like, I honestly want to, because I love Tavares. I love the gym. I love the team captain. I love the work with Strickland. But he's just not reacting the same to punches. When you're not reacting well to punches to a guy like Chris Weidman, who, yeah, he's a very, experienced vet, he's former champ, but I think we all know Chris Weidman's not someone, you should be worried about backing you up, putting you against the fence, landing bombs. And I can't get that image out of my head of him on retreat. And when you're on retreat with a guy like RoboCop coming at you, it's just a recipe for disaster. I know RoboCop's chinny. I know, but he's just levels above him in the grappling. The one thing I do like is Tavares' takedown defense, but I think it will not end up going to the ground, which could give Tavares more openings. But I'm still on RoboCop. I just think he's putting it together now. He's working on the things he's not good at. Obviously, the chin's always going to be a problem, but I'm pretty sold on RoboCop, man. I can't see Tavares turning back the clock again. It's been a long time since we've seen a traditional Tavares performance. I think the last time I've seen a really good performance out of him was DDP, and even then, it started as the fight was going on, he couldn't deal with the power of DDP, he couldn't deal with the pace, and I just feel like RoboCop's another version of that, just in a different style. So it's pretty simple for me here. I'm not gonna actually. Yeah, I was gonna take a submission or TKO prop, but I already have a prop, and I didn't go into this fight looking for props. I just looked to the money line because Tavares, he's very tough. I don't want to discredit him and think that RoboCop's going to walk through him and make it look easy. Very possible, but I just don't see that happening. I think this could get hairy. So for that reason, I'm gonna have to go with the underdog that's been staring at me all week. It's probably not a great spot in hindsight after the fight, but it should be a pick'ems in my opinion, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna trust my gut. I'm on Fernie Garcia as an underdog. I don't
Just
particularly
left field there. You went on the counter there. I thought you were coming in with the one piece chalk to be safe, and you go left field with the Fernie Garcia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Fernie.
I was thinking Petrosian. I was thinking there's so many different names I was thinking of, but Fernie Garcia was not one of them.
I
just thought you were going to be content with going with RoboCop there as the one point, but I like it. Go with Fernie. Let's dig in here. Talk about Fernie Garcia.
I like
in
Fernie,
this matchup.
man. I think he has issues. Obviously, he questions himself. His coaches almost have to get him back into it, and that could be a problem here fighting a gamer like Emil. But the problem with Emil is he's so reckless. He throws in bunches, and could he find a finish and put Fernie away? Fraud check him for good, maybe. But I'm going to count on the guy that's fighting for his career. He has a safe Sayud yelling at him constantly. Just like Fernie, man. I think he's got the swagger on the feet when he finds his timing, when he finds his rhythm. Will he find it this fight? I don't know. But at a 50-50 shot, plus 170, when, in my opinion, like I heard you mention Petrosian, that's another 50-50 fight. And I understand why people would take Petrosian over this. It's just a little too many unknowns of gray areas where Kyle got him down. I don't understand his grappling to a full extent. Like, I don't know if he's truly just not a jiu-jitsu guy and just knows how to get up, or if he's, I don't, there's a little too many unknowns with this fight, whereas I know a little bit more about Hyder and I know a little bit more about Fernie. So I'm going to go with Fernie here, and that'll wrap it up with me.
And you know how I feel about Fernie Garcia. So I will leave that one right there. If I was you, I would have been quite content with going with the head-to-head with the Rodriguez at the chalk. And then, because the one thing that you got to go with strategy on this is, and I've accepted the Fernie Garcia, so we're in. You can even walk in with 3 chalk pieces in this strategy, and likely if you hit 3 chalk piece spots, you're probably going to win, because we've already noticed that about 2 to 3 points is going to be the way that most people win. But yeah, Fernie Garcia, the one thing for me has just been his ability to find ways out of the fight, his ability to find ways out of positions. Looked good in moments with his wrestling, and then all of a sudden he has a mental lapse, and then he's swept or loses position or whatever else. But at the same time, at that level, that shot plus 170, it's good value. It's going to be the first fight of the night likely. So yeah, Fernie Garcia, not a bad spot. Harrington, what do you feel about that left field turn there that threw you off guard probably?
I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense, right? Like you're talking about a guy who, showed a ton of promise on the Contender Series, right? Looked good, got himself the contract, and he's lost to all 3 of his, quote unquote UFC caliber opponents. Now he's fighting a guy who's only fought on the Contender Series. It's like, this is essentially another Contender Series fight for him to keep his job. And it's like we saw how he did with that pressure on him the first time. I actually really like this spot.
Yeah, that is the one thing about this one. It's to keep his job. That is a pretty proper MMA pointed that out when you talked about this on the early tap. It's just definitely a benefit when you have somebody that has some fight in them, and Fernie does. He's gonna have to fight for his job, and it's definitely going to be there's an edge there. It gives you some points. So okay, so we got all 3 spots lined in. You guys, this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a sweat all the way down. Last week, pretty much we knew exactly who was going to win almost right out of the gate. I got my ass whooped. I got my floor mopped. I've been getting my ass kicked ever since Toronto. Being somebody who's trying to put out picks and then also be a huge Canadian fanboy is a huge problem.
Were you on Diana?
What's that? No, I did spread. I thought it was going to go the distance, so I thought she could take a round. She's high volume. I thought she could take a round. It was a sprinkle on the spread play, so I was okay with that, but I wasn't going to be on the dog. You can't be on the dog when history tends to repeat itself, except it did in a little bit worse fashion for Deanna. But yeah, okay. So let's put together a 2-piece parlay between you.
The call of the week last week. I feel like you're no selling Jamal Pogues.
I am no. Yeah, I'm sorry. Take it away.
That was money.
Yeah, that's it. I love that guy, dude. I think people were sleeping on Pogues. I didn't know who the hell his opponent was, but Pogues looked good, man. He looked good. He looked tough.
Ooh, I'll say one thing with Pogues. Pogues is very, very game. He's a great guy. I like his energy, but holy crap, I think he's having like a problem with his weight right now because it's like, what's going on here? And he's breaking his hands like every fight. Like it's like, man, like I want him to do well so bad, but it's like he's not giving me much to work with. And unless you're fighting these guys where it's like they can either wrestle or nothing, and where you can outpoint them to a decision, it's like I can't do much with it. But yeah, Pogues was a great spot last week for sure. And Charles Johnson, that one was fun too. Everyone was all on Azad.